Daddy Squared. Gay Dad Saved the World.
A daily dose of gay dads on the front lines of the global pandemic.
With Alex McGann and Jan Dick.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Daddy Squared, the Gay Dads podcast. Gay Dads Save the World, which is not us.
No, it's not us. We don't even save calories.
We received a question on Instagram for those who follow us and can listen to the podcast on Instagram as well. Did you know?
Oh, I did not know that Instagram did that in addition to allowing you
It
to
didn't
glue
do it.
lips to people's faces and shit.
They don't do it. I just added to IGTV.
Oh, I see. Well, that's cool.
All right. So somebody asked us yesterday in a message, how do we keep the spark in our relationship?
Wow, that sounds like we were on the front cover of Cosmo. It seems like a totally Cosmo question. Wow. So we try to be as
I
transparent.
think we should tell the truth. Alex.
Right. I know. I was thinking about lying, and then I changed my mind. You know, we try to be as transparent as we can on this podcast. And I mean, I don't know. It all depends on what you mean by spark. I don't think that we keep the spark all that alive in our relationship. It's been 12 and a half years. My love for you is incredibly deep, and I am crazy about you. But
it's the same.
Spark, you know.
Do you think like
Am I
do we have
banging you in the kitchen?
Oh, he means like you
I
think
don't know what he
like sexual
means.
spark?
I don't know what he means, but I guess my point is that we're certainly not as crazy as we were at the beginning of our relationship. But I will say that there are aspects of understanding each other that have gotten so much deeper since I don't know, as little as 2-3 years ago. And by the way that this virus thing has been a bit of a revelation too. I feel like I've learned more about you in the last month than I ever knew before.
Really? Like what?
Well, certainly not your passion for cake, because I was aware of that beforehand. But I've been watching how you interact with the kids much more closely than I think that I did for the first 4 years. And I'm seeing more of your creativity. I'm seeing more of your
All right, let's save these people this bullshit. Let's talk about the problems, okay? Because I think people would like to know, like that our lives are not perfect and we fight. We fight a lot.
So part of the way we keep the spark in our relationship is that we snap at each other constantly.
Yes,
I mean we do.
And I think that because we're together so many hours per day, so the snapping is like in waves. Yeah. It's like going up and there's more snapping, and then we realize what we're doing, and then we think about it a little bit, and then it goes down and so forth.
This is not the relationship that they depict in the movies. I don't know how often that relationship really exists anyway. But you come to a point in your life where you say, thank God I have somebody that I trust, somebody that I love, and that I'm not worried about losing, you know?
You know, I spoke with a girlfriend, by which I mean gay friend, of mine on the phone the other day, and he's not married, but he has a boyfriend for many years. And he told me that he's pretty much, they fight a lot and everything. And I asked him this question. If you guys are away from each other, even if you guys are like on the other corners of the house for a period of time, do you miss him? Do you feel that you want to tell him something good that happened to you or something bad that happened to you? And he said, no, I actually think that I want to be by myself. And I think this is a question that you should ask yourself.
Why? What is the answer?
Even though I snap and we fight quite a lot, Alex and I.
Oh yeah.
But if we're not, if we are away from each other for like 2 hours, I feel that, I miss him. I want him in my life. I don't want to live my life by myself.
Right.
So I guess that's a kind of test that I kind of test myself every now and then to figure out like what's my true feelings, despite the fact that he's annoying me to death, basically. But this is I think is a good question to ask and a good exercise for yourself to kind of figure this out.
Well, Lord knows also during this lockdown that so many people are experiencing, where they have to spend 24 hours a day in their house with their partner, we're going to learn an awful lot about our relationships with each other during this time.
Yeah, and you remember that we went to that virtual gay salon
Of
a
course.
couple of weeks ago, and one of the questions there was, does the quarantine makes you more horny or more dry? Remember that? And I think that it really depends, because some people said, yes, we're much more sexually aroused by everything.
Yeah.
And
This was
the
not
other
a-
people said, no, we actually, the all of the bad news and all of the what's happening to society makes us feel like we don't want to have sex. So
It's also not a gay dad's salon. And I think that makes a huge difference, because it's one thing if it's 2:00 in the afternoon and the two of you look at each other and say, yeah, ooh, yeah, chicka-bow, right? Except we can't do that because the shits are all over the house all the time. So, there are limitations.
anyway, some stuff to think about. And while we're at it, can't you?
Are they going to be upset that I referred to my kids as the shits?
Maybe in like 18 years.
No, not the
They're gonna-
kids, our listeners.
Oh.
I love them with a passion that burns like 1,000 suns, but they're the shits. Go on.
So, by the way, guys, we are trying to do a gay dad's salon. And every couple of weeks, we're having like a Zoom meeting where we talk, and mostly Alex let it all out, by which I mean
That's
not
true.
physically.
That's not true. We actually had somebody in the last one who had a lot of really interesting things
That's
to say
right.
about his experience during this thing. We would love you guys to join us.
All you have to do in order to join us for a salon, for a Zoom salon, is just write to us at hello@daddysqr.com and tell us you want to join us.
Also, it is a black tie thing. So if
No,
you
it's
don't,
not.
It's black tie and ball gown.
It's a dirty shirt.
Yeah, it'll be that for sure.
All right. Today we're calling Massachusetts.
Oh, you pronounced it right. Mazel tov.
Thank you. Stephen Scott, he's a cardiac nurse, and we're going to talk to him. He's in Georgetown, and we're going to talk to him about his life and family. So let's hear it.
Let's do it.
Hello?
Hi, Stephen?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jan.
Hi, it's Alex.
How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work? What do you do, and how has it changed since the pandemic?
I'm actually a cardiac nurse.
Yeah.
And the change that's happened is, when everyone went into lockdown, we saw a great decrease in our patients, which then caused the hospital to actually cut about 1/5 of the nursing staff.
Oh,
Now what's happening is we're still at full capacity, not really enough nurses, but we're not seeing as many cardiac patients as much as we're getting a lot of alcoholics and detoxers coming in. Now that they've been home and drinking, now we're getting that influx of detox patients, not quite as many cardiac surgery patients as we would like.
So help us understand. I'd really like to understand that a little bit better. What you're saying is this because people who would otherwise come to the hospital with a problem that maybe wasn't that serious, or I don't know what, are not coming out? Like, what is accounting for so many fewer people coming for the kind of things that you handle as a cardiac professional?
Well, I think that only the most serious people are actually now coming to the hospital and getting admitted. Whereas if you had, just come to the hospital with, the general not feeling well, in normal times, we would admit you up to one of the floors and just try to figure it out. Now we're sending people home and only admitting actual heart attacks, pneumonias, COVID patients, and now detoxers.
I see.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with the detoxers as well in your work.
Correct, because our floor is typically post-cardiac surgery. But, the other night, we only had 5 cardiac patients, but we had 6 detoxing patients.
I see. Wow.
So
and I guess it's all because of the stay at home. They just have anything else to do.
I think so. People who were more apt to be, daily drinkers or even have a drinking problem are now because they're home, that habit is sort of ramped up.
Wow.
So now you're getting them, drunker, quicker, and then now having problems at home and having to come to the hospital.
Right. Well, speaking of the home and hopefully a better situation, can you tell us a little bit about your family situation, who you got, how'd you get them, and like that?
Sure. So I have a 13-year-old son who we adopted sort of a kinship foster care. He is the son of my husband's friend of a friend who happened to be homeless. We brought him into our home to help him get stable. Then he ended up going to jail. But in the meantime, he had this 5-year-old son who was floating in and out of foster care. So we were able to fight for him, go to court, and since he can't ever go back to either one of his birth parents, now he's mine.
Oh, wow.
Can you walk us through how, because you said it's through a friend of a friend, did you, so I assume you got to meet him and his story not through the system, right?
Right. He was able to get him out of the system for a little while. So the little boy was in my home in one of my spare bedrooms. When the father went back to jail, DCF came and collected this little boy and brought him back into foster care. And then I was able to fight for him.
Got it.
Because, he's already sort of mine.
So it's the three of you living at home?
There's four of us. It's me and my husband, now my son who's 13, and a nephew who is 26. It's my husband's nephew.
Wow. And how did your nephew come to be with you? Was he there before the pandemic or was he?
Yeah, he was here before the pandemic. He was, I guess we have this habit of sort of taking in strays who need some help.
Right.
And so that happened. He was going down the wrong path. So we brought him in and tried to straighten him out.
Got it.
He's actually been pretty good.
How is your 13-year-old handling the lockdown?
I keep him kind of shielded from what's going on in the world. The first 3 weeks or so, he felt like he was on vacation.
Right.
So, because our town didn't have mandatory schoolwork for the first couple of weeks because they were unsure how long they would be home.
Sure.
Now that it's been canceled for the rest of the year and now he has graded assignments, it's a little bit different.
Right.
I do have to wrangle him around for schoolwork for a couple of hours a day.
Got it.
But he's been actually okay. He was not terribly social in the first place, but being on the Xbox with his friends and still being able to connect, that really hasn't changed.
Right.
So he's good. There's not a huge disruption in his life.
Got it. And your nephew does your nephew help you guys with this parenting or what?
No, nope. Useless.
Understood. And if I can ask, so you go to the hospital every day?
I work 3 overnights a week.
Got it. And when you get home, I assume there's some form of, silkwood shower, scrubbing yourself down and all that kind of stuff before you come back into the house.
Yes, stripping down in the garage, coming in my underwear, jumping in the shower, jumping into bed for a little while.
Right. And under other circumstances, that would be kind of sexy, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Understood. Well, we'd also
do it nice and slow, so it's still a little sexy.
Okay. Okay, good. Can you give us 1 or 2 or 3 examples of things that you feel like have been a silver lining during this incredibly difficult time?
Well, it has come to my attention that we don't always have to be out, so that's been nice.
Right.
There was always that pressure before we had to be out. We had to be doing things, getting things done. Was I doing enough? Was I bringing my son places? And now, that pressure is off the table. So now there's more watching movies at home. There's more cooking together. There's more laughing at each other.
Right.
So there's that.
Speaking of laughing at each other, when was the last time you had a good, proper belly laugh? What was it about, if you can remember?
I'm sure I was at work making fun of coworkers or patients or something. Some situation.
Yeah, that's really appropriate, man.
You can't make them up.
Excellent. All right. So, look, this is the one surprise question that we're asking everybody, and we want you to dig down deep for this one. What meal have you personally been the most ashamed of over the last week?
Let's see. Well, I thought I was being cool by making some French bread pizza the other night. I put way too much cheese on it and ended up making everybody a little sick.
Well, it's good that you're in the right line of work.
Yeah, so I was so excited about it, and then everybody ate about 2 pieces.
Right.
And then for the rest of the night, everybody was in and out of the bathroom.
Right. So I'm hearing cheese poisoning. Excellent.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Stephen,
I'm
listen.
the first one to go down.
Thank you so much for doing this little interview, and much more importantly, thank you so much for what you do for a living.
Oh, thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Take care.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That is good.